By 1943, military armorers were discovering a problem they could not officially acknowledge. Sniper rifles coming back modified, triggers that pulled at 2 pounds instead of 5, scopes positioned differently than specifications required, barrels altered in ways that voided warranties. Military doctrine was explicit. Sniper rifles were precision instruments engineered to exact tolerances. Soldiers were forbidden from modifying them. But doctrine did not account for the sniper who missed a shot because his trigger pull was too heavy, or the one who could not achieve proper eye relief with standard scope placement. So they modified their rifles anyway, in secret, with tools that were not supposed to exist. When armorers discovered these modifications, consequences varied. Sometimes rifles were confiscated, sometimes modifications were quietly reversed, and sometimes when the sniper's record was too good to ignore, officers simply pretended they had not noticed. Because a modified rifle that helped a sniper make shots was more valuable than regulations that assumed every shooter was identical. These are the 5 banned sniper modifications soldiers hid anyway. Number 5. Lightened trigger mechanisms. The pull that could kill you. Factory trigger pull on military rifles was 5 pounds, sometimes 6, heavy enough to prevent accidental discharge. But that 5-pound pull was not designed for precision shooting at 600 yards. So snipers lightened their triggers, carefully filing sear surfaces, replacing springs, reducing pull from 5 pounds to 3, sometimes to 2. Military regulations explicitly forbade this. A trigger too light could fire unintentionally. An improperly filed sear could slip. An over-lightened spring could fail. And those fears were not theoretical. Soviet marksmen killed when rifles fired during climbing. American snipers whose weapons discharged while being handed to spotters. German sharpshooters whose modified triggers failed during critical engagements. But for every failure, snipers swore their lightened triggers saved lives. The difference between a clean break at 2 pounds and a heavy pull at 5 was the difference between hitting and missing. Armorers who discovered lightened triggers treated them as serious violations. The weapon was pulled from service. The trigger replaced, the sniper faced consequences. But in units where snipers were effective, enforcement became complicated. An officer who confiscated a modified rifle from a sniper with 40 confirmed kills had to answer uncomfortable questions. So some officers looked the other way. Some snipers became expert at hiding modifications, carrying spare factory parts to swap before inspections. The lightened trigger was never approved, never safe, and one of the most common modifications snipers made. Number 4. Unauthorized scope mounts. The zero they wouldn't acknowledge. Scope mounting seemed simple. Factory determined optimal placement. Every rifle had identical scope positioning. Standardization ensured consistency. But standardization assumed every sniper had the same physical dimensions, same neck length, same facial structure, same eye relief preference. They did not. A scope mounted at factory specifications might work for an average-sized soldier. For a taller sniper with a longer neck, it forced uncomfortable positioning. For a shorter soldier, it required awkward head placement. So snipers moved their scopes. Some repositioned mounts forward. Others moved them back. A few altered height above bore. None of it was authorized. Military regulations specified exact scope mounting positions. Moving a scope changed its zero. A rifle zeroed at the factory would no longer hit point of aim. But snipers who repositioned scopes re-zeroed their weapons themselves, carefully confirmed their setup held zero, and when it did, they hid the modification. British snipers with Lee Enfield rifles were particularly known for scope repositioning. German snipers with Card 98K rifles modified mounts to allow use with winter clothing. American snipers with Springfield 1903A4 rifles occasionally relocated scopes for individual preferences. When armorers discovered modified mounts, consequences were immediate. Scope removed. Factory position restored. Sniper disciplined. But enforcement was inconsistent. A sniper who consistently made difficult shots drew less scrutiny than one who missed. The unauthorized scope mount was never sanctioned. It complicated logistics, made replacement difficult, and it was used by snipers across every army, hidden during inspections. Number 3. Hand-lapped barrels. The accuracy they could not explain. Factory barrels produced acceptable accuracy for military purposes. Most held 2 to 3 inches at 100 yards. For infantry rifles, sufficient. For sniper rifles, not enough. Some snipers understood that factory barrels could be improved. The rifling had microscopic imperfections, tool marks from manufacturing, slight variations in groove depth. Hand lapping removed those imperfections. A lead slug coated with fine abrasive was pushed through the barrel repeatedly. The process smoothed rifling, created uniform grooves, and improved accuracy. Military regulations absolutely forbade barrel modifications. Any alteration voided accuracy guarantees. A barrel damaged during lapping could turn a precision rifle into an inaccurate weapon. Those concerns were valid. Improper lapping could damage rifling. Overlapping could remove too much material. An inexperienced hand could ruin a barrel. But some snipers had worked as gunsmiths before the war. Others learned from competitive shooters. They lapped conservatively, tested results. And when accuracy improved, they kept it hidden. Soviet snipers with Mosin-Nagant rifles were documented lapping barrels in field conditions. German snipers with Karker 98K rifles occasionally lapped barrels assigned to them that shot poorly. American snipers sometimes lapped standard barrels, believing they could achieve match-grade accuracy. When armorers discovered a lapped barrel, consequences were severe. Rifle removed from service. Barrel inspected for damage. If compromised, the rifle was scrapped. Sniper faced disciplinary action for destruction of government property. But proving a barrel had been lapped required careful inspection. And if the sniper's record showed consistent accuracy, questions about how that accuracy was achieved became uncomfortable. If you've made it this far, you understand this is not about celebrating violations. It's about understanding choices made when regulations failed to account for individual differences in the demands of precision shooting. Stay with me. The final 2 modifications reveal how far snipers were willing to go. Number 2, custom stock modifications. The fit that doctrine ignored. Factory stocks were designed for iron sights. When a scope was mounted, the shooter's eye needed to be higher, but the stock remained at original height. The result was awkward positioning requiring the sniper to lift his head unnaturally. The solution was a raised cheek piece. Some factory sniper rifles included this. Many did not. So snipers built their own. They carved the stock, adding layers of wood. They wrapped leather or cloth. They used cork, rubber, salvaged materials. The goal: achieve proper eye alignment without straining the neck. Military regulations forbade stock modifications. Altering the stock changed how the rifle balanced, affected recoil management, and if done improperly could weaken the wood. But for snipers who spent hours in shooting position, proper cheek weld was not optional. It was the foundation of consistent accuracy. A sniper who had to crane his neck would fatigue quickly. Shots would become inconsistent. Finnish snipers during Winter War were among first to document custom cheek pieces. British snipers with Lee Enfield No. 4T rifles faced similar issues. American Marines using unauthorized scoped rifles often added cheek pieces. The modifications were personal. A cheek piece carved for one sniper fit that sniper's face. It did not fit anyone else, which meant the rifle became personalized rather than interchangeable gear. That created logistical problems. German snipers were particularly known for stock modifications. Soviet snipers often wrapped stocks with cloth or leather to build up the cheek piece. The materials were temporary, easily removed before inspection. The custom cheek piece represented a fundamental conflict between standardization and individual fit. Doctrine assumed one stock design fit all shooters. Reality demonstrated otherwise. Number 1. Improvised flash hiders and suppressors. The signature they tried to hide. Of all modifications snipers made, none was more forbidden than this. Suppressors were not standard issue for military snipers. Specialized weapons existed, but these were restricted to special operations. For regular snipers, any attempt to reduce sound or flash signature was explicitly prohibited. The reasoning was practical and doctrinal. Improvised devices could fail catastrophically, and command did not want snipers believing they could shoot without revealing position when they could not. But snipers understood something doctrine ignored. Position compromise was the sniper's greatest danger. Every shot revealed location through sound, muzzle flash, and dust signature. Reducing any of those signatures meant the difference between a follow-up shot and being killed by return fire. So, some improvised flash hiders were more common than true suppressors. Devices made from metal cans, wire mesh, or fabricated baffles that reduced visible muzzle flash during night operations. They did not reduce sound significantly, but they made the shooter harder to locate visually. True sound suppressors were rarer. A few snipers with metalworking skills built crude devices from tubing and improvised baffles. Most were ineffective. Some reduced sound by a few decibels. A few actually worked. Soviet snipers in urban environments like Stalingrad occasionally fashioned flash hiders to reduce visibility during night shoots. German snipers in final war years experimented with improvised suppressors as Allied air superiority made daytime sniping dangerous. The consequences of discovery were severe. Possession of an improvised suppressor was treated differently from other modifications. It suggested covert operations outside normal rules of engagement. Soldiers caught with improvised suppressors faced immediate confiscation, disciplinary action, and investigation into whether they had been operating outside authorization. And yet they appeared in every theater, built by snipers who understood the risks and believed that reducing their signature was worth both the risk of punishment and the risk of equipment failure. The improvised flash hider represented the absolute limit of unauthorized modification. Most dangerous to build, most forbidden to possess, most severely punished when discovered. And it existed anyway. These were the 5 banned sniper modifications. Soldiers hid anyway. From lightened triggers that made rifles more accurate and more dangerous, to unauthorized scope mounts that prioritized individual fit, to hand-lapped barrels that improved accuracy while voiding warranties, to custom stocks that acknowledged what doctrine would not, to improvised flash hiders that tried to hide the unhideable. Each violated regulations designed to maintain standardization and ensure safety. Each was hidden from inspectors, maintained in secret, and used when performance mattered more than compliance. Some improved effectiveness. Others created dangers their makers did not anticipate. All existed in the gray space between what doctrine authorized and what actually happened when men whose lives depended on precision decided that factory specifications were inadequate. The gap between doctrine and reality was never closed. It was simply crossed, one unauthorized modification at a time, by men who decided that hitting the target mattered more than following regulations. If you want World War II history without simplification or mythology, subscribe. There's more coming.